And the way it wrapped itself up could not have been more perfect for me. I left after the 11th season, but left, I called it a divorce with visitation rights. I wanted to get my life back, but I didn't want to say goodbye to that character or to the job. So when I left a balance of 8 episodes to be divided up however they wanted to use them.
Okay.
And we did 4 in the 12th season, and then I took the 13th and 14th off, and then I did 4 in the 15th, and then ended up doing 2 or 3 more to be part of the finale, which was just great. I mean, having Ron Holcomb come back, who directed the pilot, to do the finale, having so many of the original players come back, gave it that sense of closure that everybody involved was sort of thirsting for, because even when you're not on that show, you're accountable to it. As long as it was on, it felt unfinished to everybody involved. But looking back, it's a bit of a haze. It's kind of a halcyon haze. It's like, I was 22 with a ficus and a cat in an apartment, and I got on a train, and it dumped me off at 36, married with 2 kids and a ranch. And I was like, wow, how did I get here? And afforded me the rarest thing in an actor's life, which is financial security and the ability to pick and choose jobs that resonate on other levels besides financial, which is an unbelievable gift and one that I'll be grateful for forever.
That's great.
I guess I'm a fan of science fiction, but I think it works best for me anyway when it's metaphorical storytelling, like the way Gene Roddenberry used to use on Star Trek. You talk about race relations if you were talking about Klingons and Vulcans. And it's an opportunity to look at something that's very contemporary through a one-step removed process and be objective about it without touching too many emotional buttons. And it's good sort of escapist entertainment, but I like it more when it's the context or the canvas in which a very human story is being played out, or in this case, kind of family drama, with that as the backdrop. And I haven't really watched a lot of the current sci-fi shows. I haven't seen Waking Dead, I haven't seen The Event, so I'm at a disadvantage to compare them. But I learned very quickly that this is an audience that pays unbelievably close attention to detail, and if your mythology is intact, and you've thought this out beforehand, and you kind of honor and respect that level of attention they're paying you, then they're the most loyal and dedicated audience you could possibly win over. So that was kind of exciting to try and break into a new genre in a way that I felt most comfortable. It's still a drama, it's a character drama. And it walks a very fine line, trying to both appease the audience that's already on the network, that's tuning in to watch the closer and sort of character-based dramas, and at the same time attract this demographic that isn't on the network through it being a more action-oriented science fiction show. And in that balance, I think it differentiates itself from a lot of other things. Moon loves science fiction. She'll be the first to tell you that that's her personal taste, and she gravitates towards it when given a chance. But it was a nice transference going on, because she had to play the doctor and I had to play the machine gun toting alien fighter. So she gave me a tip here, I gave her a tip there, and it all worked out. And I grew up, going to grade school in the sort of late 70s, early 80s, and I was a classic latchkey kid. My mom put herself through nursing school, so I'd get out of school and I'd walk down Sunset Boulevard to a movie theater that is now a Guitar Center, but it used to be called the Oriental Theater.
Which theater?
It was called the Oriental.
The Oriental, okay.
And you could see 2 movies for $2, and I would go in there almost every day and watch movies, and that was my form of escapism. And having a stepfather that was working in the industry, but doing really interesting jobs. He was at one point a vice president at Universal, and he initiated what they called the Classics division at the time. But he was responsible for reissuing 5 Hitchcock films: Rope,
yes,
The Window, Trouble with Harry,
when they
Man,
did
Do
that.
Too Much, and Vertigo.
Yeah.
And then he'd buy all the foreign films, so he was the first guy to acquire some of the Merchant Ivory films and some films out of Japan. So I had an unbelievable education, film education, from an early age. He reissued all the Beatles movies too. So I was watching Jimmy Stewart, Henry Fonda, and all these guys at an age where most kids weren't. I'm never really making the conscious decision to become an actor until I got into high school and I started doing plays. But that was always the direction I was leaning in. I always had more aptitude in English and history and language than I did in math and science. And then when I started doing high school plays, and I wasn't great athlete. I wasn't a great student, but that was the first thing I did that won me any kind of approbation or validation from my peers, and that felt good. So I just kind of stuck with it.
What was your father or stepfather's name?
His name is Jim Katz, James Katz. He went on to do a lot of really good restoration work. He and his partner Bob Harris
I know.
reissued
Spartacus.
Spartacus, Lawrence of Arabia, Abel Gosse's Napoleon, Vertigo, and My Fair Lady.